Um, Welcome. Thank you for choosing our presentation, our delivery. I trust we won't disappoint you. It's obviously an honor and privilege for us as SASOL to be invited here this morning to speak to the rising stars of South Africa, the future talent. And whenever we get an opportunity like this, we truly do feel humble and privileged. This morning it will be myself and my colleague Nolly who will assist us. We will be delivering the sort of co-presentation. But before we commence, there's a short video clip that I just want to play, and I'll trust you'll indulge us with this video clip. And then after, we'll start with the formal process. Thank you. Okay, good morning. Once again, I'm Dwayne Leonard, People Development Specialist for SASOL, and I'm proudly shaping tomorrow. So, this morning we were tasked and challenged to present some information around how do we at SASOL grow and develop our young talent, our future leaders of the organization, the people that I see in front of me. We look at our video that played, and of course you can see that our organization is dispersed. We're in 33 countries globally, 30,300 employees, proudly working for our organization. Looking at how we deliver our business strategy, and we in HR play a significant role. So I sit in the HR Center of Expertise focused on people development and talent management for the organization. And you might ask, how is it that our group HR strategy enables the delivery of SASOL's business strategy? How do we support this? The three key pillars that we've identified under our people philosophy and our HR purpose enable us to achieve this. Through leadership capability and capacity, that's a focus on developing leadership capability and capacity to drive business performance, and of course, to achieve cultural transformation. We focus on organizational culture and diversity. Here we look at enabling culture transformation towards a diverse, inclusive, and of course, resilient organization for the future. Resilient being key if you look at some of the dynamics we've had to face in the recent times. Global talent development, to build a diverse base of global talent. We're a global organization, so we have to have global talent to enable our business strategy. Now, by focusing on our people and ensuring that we have the right talent in the right place at the right time, we enable the SASOL business strategy. It is our talent that's our key resource. It's our human capital. SASOL's vision, purpose, and values, you might have seen these. We've refreshed them in recent times to inspire us. They underpin the framework of development at SASOL. They underpin the framework of talent management. They underpin the way we run our organization. We are a values-driven organization at SASOL. However, if we look at what is the model that particularly manages talent, the acquisition, the development, and the growth of talent at SASOL, we refer to our people and organizational effectiveness framework. In our framework, you'll see our first point of call, of course, before you can develop talent, is to acquire talent. How do we do this? It's through people planning, strategic people planning, and we have the head of people planning joining us this morning, Thabo Mogobe. And Thabo and team focus at ensuring we have the right talent lined up for current and future projects. One such project that's been in the media of late, of course, is our Lake Charles investment, the largest in North America by any other company outside of the US. We also look at ensuring that our employer brand, and we're in the fortunate position that we have a strong employer brand, but we focus on how can we enhance this. Generations change. You know, you have the millennials and now we've got the centennials. Different generations look for different values in an organization. It cannot be static. We also ensure that we have talent sourcing taking place, because in an organization of such diverse skills, such as SASOL, some of the roles and some of the critical skills that we have are not readily available. So we look at, is it an opportunity for us to either buy, or could we possibly build the talent in-house? Now, once we've acquired the talent, we focus on development of talent. At SASOL, we look at technical and leadership competencies. Our technical and leadership competencies are assigned per role, so that you as an employee or prospective employee in the organization have a good insight into what is it that's required for you to deliver in your job today, but also what will be required for your aspirational role. Where do you see yourself in future? What do you need to achieve to get there? We have certain programs that we've developed that focus. One such we'll talk about a little later, which is our LEAP program. It focuses at developing our hypos. What is hypos? Our high potential individuals. those that have the aspiration, but also the ability to occupy positions at senior management roles in the organization, both locally and internationally. And of course, at the grassroots level, something that many of you, I'm sure, would be familiar with are our bursary and our other graduate development programs and learnerships. So of course, learnerships, we have artisans in training at SASOL, because that is the sort of, can I say, the foundation for our business. We have our engineers, our EITs. We have our CA training program, which we've proudly been running now for almost 30 years. So we've got a number of different interventions that ensure we continuously build talent. And I must say, we build talent with the focus for SASOL, but more so for the country at large. Once you will agree that once you've joined the organization, we start developing you, we need to obviously create an environment that's conducive for you to flourish. No use you have all this talent bottled up with nowhere to go. So we look at how do we inspire high performance? What is required to enable performance? We focus on mentoring and coaching in the organization. It's something we drive with a lot of passion. Because as young people, you often need that soundboard, that directive from somebody who's already commenced or on that journey, who's achieved success or may not have achieved success. There's lessons to be learned on both sides. And mentoring and coaching is key for talent development in our organization. But you'll tell me, Dwayne, I've joined the organization and I've been developed, I'm inspired. It's impossible I'm going to stay in the same role forever. Why would I want to? You've invested so much in me. So we look at how do we manage careers of our people, our young talent. This we do through structured and rigorous career and succession management. In fact, myself and my leader, Silo, we're currently working with our talent forum preparation, in which we start plotting potential successes for leadership in the organization, potential successes for our scarce and critical roles, to ensure our talent is continuously being developed to support the business strategy. But you can have all 4 pieces of the pie. If you don't have the right culture, it'll all fall flat. So of course we focus on culture transformation, organization transformation, organization culture, high performance, employee engagement, but very importantly, diversity and inclusion. And diversity and inclusion in our respect goes beyond just race and gender. We look at creating diversity and inclusion for different skill sets, different pockets of knowledge, different cultures to enable us to achieve our strategic objectives as an organization. Okay. Apologies for that. It seems that we've skipped ahead a bit. So how do we develop talent, you might ask? We apply what we call a blended learning approach. Slightly different. You might have heard it by now. I think there's a couple of organizations that have taken this approach. But underpinning our blended learning model is the fact that we believe most training, most exposure, and most importantly, most competency development does not occur when you go to some fancy classroom. They give you a free book, iPad perhaps. You sit there for 2 days. You're inspired, perhaps more so because of the gifts you've got. It's actually happening on the job. You would have seen that. You don't want to be sent to a class for 2 days. You want to, as young, rising talent, be given positions, projects, opportunities that will stretch you, that will grow you, that will let you into the opportunity of getting to know what do you really have at the core of your potential. And so at SASOL, we align to this belief in that 90% of the development occurs on the job. 70% is pure on-the-job coaching. That can happen through line managers, peer-to-peer. And then 20% is through a coach and mentor. We only spend 10% of our time in classrooms. There's much greater and bigger exposure awaiting you on the job. Of course, we look at collaborative learning methods, and like I said, there's particular programs that we've developed to grow our young, our aspiring talent, one such as LEAP, and I'll unpack LEAP in a little while. But further to this, I think I might have to resort to actually clicking on here. There we go. As I mentioned earlier, we provide line of sight for development. You cannot develop in the dark at SASOL. Why? Because we know for each role what is required to deliver. I mentioned earlier we have our technical and leadership competencies. We have our qualifications and our experience required. Why do we have this? Because we'd hate to set up our employees for failure. So when we advertise positions, when we recruit, when we start to develop you, It's first and foremost for your current role, so that you can deliver in your current role. Master that. Then we start to shift our focus into what are you aspiring towards. No use you aspiring, and every day in the afternoon you're sitting there till midnight because you can't achieve your deliverables. So focus first on what's contained. And that's where our integrated learning and development model comes in to support our colleagues at SASOL, to ensure that we enable their development, to enable them to stretch and reach their full potential. Our 10 leadership competencies, you might say, oh, leadership competencies, is that for leaders? Is it just for the few that are managers? No. Leadership competencies, you can see some of them behind me, are written in such a way at SASOL that we have assigned it from a specialist, from a person who, as we call a self-master, leads themselves, right through to the most senior of executives in the organization. The difference being the proficiency level at which you would be required to apply it. But for example, develop yourself. We believe that each and every employee in our organization is responsible for their own development. Why? We don't push. We look for the pull effect. We want our people to own their careers, to manage their careers, to be responsible. Our leadership competencies support the new way of leading in the new SASOL era. So I mentioned a little bit about career development, the fact that we shift very much away from the classroom and much more towards on-the-job training. But you would ask, how is this possible? How will your organization spend 90% of their time just learning, never delivering? What we do, though, is we afford you this opportunity whilst you still continue to remain a value-adding contributor in our organization. We do this first and foremost through appointments into more senior roles, perhaps even into lateral positions, but for different exposure outside of what you're currently doing. You might have an opportunity to stay at your current, at SASOL we don't use levels, we use role categories, so you could stay at your current role category, but shift from a position that is a specialist role to leading others if you are aspiring to become a leader. Where opportunities don't exist because we are a vacancy-driven talent organization, we get creative. We use rotation and secondment opportunities. Now, rotation is the two-way exchange of employees within the SASOL organization that affords both employees exposure into environments that they otherwise would not have got competency exposure to. Through the process of secondment, the company and the employee are set up to gain. The company, of course, most times would second an individual. If I use our current project we mentioned earlier, LCCP, we have a couple of international secondments in North America, in which our employees are gaining exposure to elements such as the startup and commission of a large plant, international exposure for those that have been seconded from our South African operations, and at the same token, at the same time, our organization benefits from the transfer of skills within this environment. So we continuously focused at talent development. Our third pocket, as I mentioned earlier, is the LEAP program. Now, some of our SASOL learning and development programs, just as an example, you'll see we spoke of some of these, such as our bursary and scholar. We start at grassroots. We start by building the talent. But you'll see on the right-hand side, once we get the talent going through our pipeline and starting to obviously aspire and grow, we start to shift our focus on leadership development. And we've got a couple of leadership programs that we've mentioned here. Leading others, we have the Lead SASOL program that we're running out globally. 1,700 leaders have gone through this, where we look at translating and transferring the aspirational leadership style that we seek within our organization. We're looking for leaders, not managers. We're not an organization of managers. We're looking for leaders that seek to inspire employees and therefore improve performance by having inspired, engaged teams. And that's the focus of our leadership development programs within the SASOL group. But you might say to me, Dwayne, why is there such an emphasis on leadership? Studies have shown we have leadership challenges globally. In 2016, 89% of companies indicated that leadership is a challenge. It's a very, very important issue. An organization without a leader is like a ship without a captain. What direction will you have? And remember, the challenge when you're in a leadership position is the direction you take is the direction that you bring your employees along with. We also saw that 28% of respondents indicated that their leadership pipelines are weak. Now, you could be reactive and you could wait for a leader to exit your organization. There's multiple recruitment agencies available. You pick up the phone, you give them a call. Our view, however, is different. Our view is that we must be homegrown. We must look to develop our leaders from our existing pipelines, our existing talent pipelines. Why? Of course, it just assists us in aspiring and inspiring our youth, inspiring our employees, providing opportunities for development and growth. And is that not what each and every one of us would look for in an organization? So leadership development is a key focus in SASOL. So we spoke about our LEAP program. I mentioned it briefly. We look to identify future leaders, accelerate their development through our blended L&D approach. So earlier when I played the video, by the way, it wasn't me trying to squeeze in a SASOL commercial. There was method behind the madness. In our video, you would have noted there was a few colleagues. I've put their names up on the board. Godfrey Chivase, he was with Marius in the orange overalls at the mine, you'll recall. Simon Beloy, he spoke in the plant. At the time, he was operations manager. Roger Harris and Ntokoza Abashe. Now, why do I put these names on the board? Because I'm proud to tell you that these are ex-delegates of the SASOL LEAP program. Why are they ex-delegates? Because they've grown. Simon occupies a vice president role in the organization, having started his career with us as an EIT, an engineer in training. Look at the journey he's taken. And I'm proud to say that, because I've done an interview with him, he sees this organization as playing a pivotal role in that growth and development. Participants in the LEAP program, you'll see, are identified and selected based on their potential to develop to more senior roles. Typically, we've just put typical examples, senior managers, vice presidents, or higher in the organization. The program, what does LEAP stand for? Learning, experiencing, accelerating potential. Now, why do we have that experiencing? Because of the approximate 3 years that you spend in the program, most of your time is outside of your natural area. You rotate. You get exposed. We have engineers that are in stakeholder relationship. We have legal guys that are doing CSI. We're stretching their ability. Qualification is one thing. Potential is a whole different kettle of fish. So we're looking at how can we stretch the potential of these individuals to prepare them to occupy senior roles in our organization as and when they become available. This is done, as I say, through integrated, accelerated talent development, career planning, and mobility. So what really makes our process, our LEAP program, significantly different from the others is that, as I've stated, formal education, yes, but experiential learning structured and deliberate in real jobs, real accountabilities, real responsibilities, real stress, but an opportunity for real development. That's most important. Our LEAP delegates, as you've seen, they come from a different array of environments with the intent of filling experience in some of SASOL's core operational activities, gaining exposure, and their support. Yes, they attend a management program that we have an educational partner with, but more importantly, we have senior buy-in. It is our executives at SASOL that play the role of coaching and mentoring this young talent. Within the COE, we look at other mechanisms to support them. We have a LEAP network on WhatsApp. We might look a little old, but we try to stay abreast with the trends. So we know that the youth and the young talent of today doesn't have time to get a folder or file and sit in a room and page through 40 pages. You want what we refer to as bite-sized learning. So we give you learning on the go. As and when you are, we reach you with information that we believe can support you in your development towards becoming a great leader. So I've just put a bit of information here. I know it is a text-heavy slide. Somebody said to me, remember, it's always called PowerPoints, not Power Paragraph. So excuse the text heaviness. But what I wanted to say, the key for us is that the ideal candidate we identify for such programs must have the ability, the level of engagement, but also the aspiration. It must be driven from within. They must want to grow themselves. It's not an easy journey, ladies and gentlemen, to grow talent as young. Young talent is like I said earlier, it's a diamond in the rough business. It's going to take a little bit of push and pull, and it's going to take stretching of the individuals. So aspiration by the individual is key. We look, of course, for diversity in our employee pools. We look to recruit diverse backgrounds, diverse sets of skills, especially from underrepresented groups. And at this stage, I know it indicates there that there's a focus for at least 70% representation, but we had 90% representation, so I'm very proud of that for the LEAP program. A minimum of 24 months in the organization. You must know the business. You must know the company. You must have experienced SASOL. Then we consider you as possibly the right candidate for this program. And then there's a willingness to be mobile, which we'll touch on in a little bit when we talk about mobility. Because as I said, the program is premised on the base that you'll get development by rotating and being seconded throughout the SASOL group to get exposure in different pockets. Sometimes that means, unfortunately, the best exposure is in Secunda. And you might have to shift from Johannesburg and vice versa. Okay. So those are just some of the key principles. I won't go through the detail there. And I thought I would share with you, this is an image that we took with our executives, our coaches, and some of our LEAP delegates when we initiated the program. And you can see we're very proud of the LEAP program at SASOL. We're very proud of the delegates that we have on the LEAP program, the ability, the aspiration, and also just their brand championship that they display for the organization. So as I stated, HR practice tell us to promote leaders who are ready. That's what all the textbooks say. But in today's rapidly changing business, we know that we need to build leaders for the future through experience and through talent mobility. So the second portion that I just want to touch on very quickly is mobility in support of developing our SASOL talent. As mentioned, and as you would have seen in our video, we're in 33 countries. I'll just put that picture up for you to have a look at. 33 countries, 30,300 employees. It's a big organization. But there's value in this. It affords us the opportunity, by having these multiple locations, to create mobility opportunities for our talent, to be exposed and to be developed. I myself have been very privileged. I've spent some time in our Europe offices, particularly in London, getting exposure and experience to work I would otherwise never have got sitting in our Johannesburg base. So mobility is a key enabler for us in SASOL around developing talent. And so our talent office, our mobility office, which sits again in our group HR, human capital team, they look at how do they support with mobility. And unfortunately, Kuvashni could not join us this morning, so apologies for her. But Kuvashni and the team really look at enabling talent mobility by supporting with things like housing, relocation, settling in. We have talent moving throughout the organization. We track this. We have talent in North America, Eurasia, in pretty much all the offices who have been rotated and given the opportunity to be exposed to varying environments. And so now for the last piece of our presentation, I'd like to invite Nolly to talk about how do we reward our talent at SASOL.
Thank you, Dwayne. Good morning, everyone. How are you this morning? Or should I say good morning, potential colleagues? My name is Nolly Muhlala. I'm a reward specialist at SASOL. And I will ask my colleague, Thabo. I know they normally say women are good at multitasking, but I believe in teamwork, and we at SASOL believe in teamwork. So I'm going to ask Thabo to please operate for me, because I saw Dwayne was experiencing some challenges. Okay, it's moving along, but maybe just stay close. Okay, so this morning I'll be taking you through how the SASOL remuneration strategy or philosophy helps to support or enable the HR strategy in order for HR to be able to help the business to achieve its business strategy. Okay? And to start off, the SASOL remuneration strategy really focuses on 3 main components. And your first one being delivering high-driven performing individuals. And Dwayne mentioned about high values, about values. And the reason why we emphasize values is that in SASOL, we believe that you can achieve your goals anyhow, but it's very important to have values, to have a way. You must have integrity in how you conduct your business. You must be excellent in what you're doing. So do it with discretionary effort and trying to make sure that you do it to the best of your ability. Of course, we'll give you tools to make sure that you're able to apply your best effort. But very important, when you look at delivering high-driven performing individuals, the whole point of that philosophy is to help align the interests of the executives of SASOL and that of shareholders. Why do we want to align the executive interest and that of shareholders? Our shareholders are the people that invest in our organization. They invest in our organization, and they are the ones, when there's opportunity for growth, development, and sustainability of SASOL, that we look up to in order to help fund these growth initiatives, like the ethane cracker plant that Dwayne has mentioned in Lake Charles. But also, in terms of the strategy, then, we enable the achievement of general business strategy. The midterm strategy, which is 3 to 5 years, and the long term, which is, we want to see SASOL sustainable in 5, 10, 15, 50 years from now. SASOL was founded in 1950, and the fact that SASOL still exists today is a great feeling for me as a SASOL employee. And I trust that one of my kids would one day want to work for SASOL, because it is not going anywhere. Watch out for Lake Charles. And then, the strategy also looks at ensuring that we have right people in the right place. And why do we want to do that? We want to make sure that we have individuals that want to grow. Dwayne mentioned that aspirations, that is the main key. We want employees that have aspirations, that want to grow, that want to actually help the organization to be better and bigger in order for SASOL to be sustainable in the future. And how do we do that? We go out to the markets. We go out to the markets and we actually participate in surveys. We want to find out and make sure that we are competitive and we are market aligned. We attract our talent from the South African, in cases where we're in South Africa, from the South African markets. And in essence, you want to make sure that when you attract your talent, you're able to pay competitive salaries, you are market aligned, because where you get your talent from, you also lose it to that very same market. So you want to stay relevant. And as a result, we participate in surveys just to make sure that we are actually able to be competitive in that sense. And we encourage mobility. We want people who want to grow, who want to contribute, because we do not want to actually have people that keep the pipeline blocked. Because what happens then to the youngsters that have all these great ideas, that want to come in, that want to go out to the world and make a difference on behalf of SASOL? So our strategy, our REM strategy, is also intended then to ensure that we allow people to be able to travel the world, to be able to go into projects and help the organization to be bigger and better. Lastly but not least, we want to enable a high-performance culture. And how do we do that? We try and encourage employees to participate in opportunities that help to manage risk. So we allow employees to come with ideas where we can actually save the company by doing things better. We also want to make sure that we have employees that are engaged. It's very important to be engaged. You want to feel as part of a company. If you wake up every day, Monday to Friday, that's 5 days to your 7-day week, and you are actually giving to that company. You want to feel as part of the family. And so we actually want employees who are engaged, who want to apply discretionary efforts, but more than anything, who will want to have a long-term career with SASOL. And then just to take you through how then we go about rewarding performance and how we focus on high-performing individuals at SASOL. We have total rewards elements that we focus on, and it's based on 6 elements. They are monetary and non-monetary. And to be quite honest, a lot of them you've seen them before, but it's how we apply them that we think makes SASOL unique. Firstly, the salary. The salary is what SASOL provides for the employees for rendering a service, right? And there is both fixed and variable pay when you look at salaries. Your fixed pay is your monthly salary, which doesn't change at any point except during the annual increase because of performance increase. We also have the variable pay, and that basically focuses on the short-term incentive as well as the long-term incentive. The short-term incentive is really based on your annual targets that you're trying to drive, that you're trying to ensure that the employees are involved with in order to ensure growth and development on a short-term span for the business. Then we have benefits. SASOL has programs that are used to supplement cash. And we have medical aid. And I think that for me is very key because, you know, in life there are circumstances that we do not have control over. But you want, when you're an employee, to know that if anything should happen to any of your family members or your child is not well, you're actually able to get them the best care. Understanding that health is the most important facets of our lives. We have retirement funds, and you have options to choose in which retirement funds to participate in. Just the other day, I heard that only about 9% of South Africans will retire comfortably. You can't help wonder if you will be part of that percentage. But we at SASOL, we have that social responsibility, and we provide our employees with an opportunity to choose a retirement fund of their choice, and from that, we then invest in terms of the retirement, for their retirement, for when the time comes when they have to leave SASOL. And then work-life effectiveness. This is of utmost importance and often undermined, I think, in a workplace. But what we found is that we've moved to the Sandton office last year, November, and you all know Sandton has become the hub of the economy. And with that happening, you find that there's a lot of traffic. But what this allows is employee with the manager's agreement, they have an agreement how an employee will work in terms of flexible working hours. You have employees that decide to come at 6:30 in the morning, and they leave at 3:30. That way they're able to go home, cook, look after the kids, fetch the kids. You have employees that want to drop kids first at work before they actually go home. So we have that available. And I think that's one of the things that I've seen that has actually improved the work morale, because it allows for that flexibility in the working hours. We have employees that are actually half-day workers. This often, I think, is popular with new mothers who have been on maternity leave, but they still want to spend time with their young one. Our remuneration policy does allow that a person works half day, which is normally 5 hours. So you come in at 8, you leave at 1, and you get on with your life. And it just supports that work-life balance, philosophy. And then recognition. This is the acknowledgement that gives special attention to employees' actions, behavior. This is when you're trying to encourage good behavior and you're trying to say that what you're doing is great, keep on doing it because it makes a difference, whether you are contributing in terms of idea, whether you're applying extra efforts in your work. We allow team nominations. So you have the immediate team actually nominating a teammate who they think is actually doing exceptionally well. But we also have awards at the end of the year where we look at how people have performed, and we actually just take a moment to actually appreciate. We call them take a bow, and it's just to take a moment to appreciate the employees, because sometimes it's not always money that makes people feel appreciated. And then performance management. This is probably the most important facet, because this is the philosophy to help align the organization, the team, and the individual goals that we have in order to achieve organizational success. And we have the performance management where employees get opportunities to discuss their expectations with their managers, and the managers would outline what they're expecting for the year from the employees. And this also paves the way for opportunities for growth and development, because an employee is able to determine if they are still happy or they would like to move on to another role. If they've mastered their current role, then they actually make it clear to their manager that they feel that it's time to look out for opportunities. These names are often escalated to the talent forums, where the overall SASOL talent is discussed. And I think if you are a high-performing individual, it often happens that with this very same process, your name lands in a list of people that can be actually sent for international assignments, which then leads to greater exposure in overall SASOL, as Dwayne mentioned. And then talent development. This provides an opportunity also to ensure that the employees have the right tools. We want to make sure that if we want you to excel, you actually get the right tools in order for you to be able to do your job well. So we do provide study aid. We have short courses and seminars for employees who want to progress, and we often encourage that employees look at these opportunities in order to better themselves, because we believe your career is entirely up to you. You should know what you want, and you should be able to discuss with your manager if what you're asking for is in line with what SASOL has also in store for you. Okay. And then this basically just speaks to the EVP, and basically why SASOL? Why would you want to work for SASOL? And basically what makes SASOL unique? We have competitive, flexible remuneration benefits. We provide an environment that encourages teamwork and opportunity. We offer dynamic careers. From what Dwayne has said, we actually have GDP where we bring engineers from grassroots level. They go into university and they come back. We place them in our plants where they get operations experience, and then when they've actually acquired enough experience, they then move up the pipeline. And a lot of them get opportunities to go to countries like the UK, the USA, all over the world. Even in Africa, we have operations in countries like Zambia, Lesotho, and they really get those exposure, which in turn allows them to be ready for bigger roles in SASOL long term. And so we also create a value-driven organizational culture. We inspire individuals, all individuals. But very importantly, I think at SASOL, you feel as though you are a citizen, you're part of the family, you become proud, and as a result, you see a long-term relationship possibility with SASOL. And then just to recap, the main strategy of the remuneration policies to support achievement of all people processes. The aim is to attract, to retain, motivate the best talent, but also to assist SASOL in competing in the marketplace as a preferred employer. As I said, where we get our talent and where we lose our talent to, we want to remain the preferred employer. And also, we want to be flexible and competitive in our rewards offering. And I've just put together just a list of companies that we generally attract our talent from, but also we lose our talent from. And as a result, we participate in a PricewaterhouseCoopers survey annually, and then there's about 538 companies across industries that are part of this survey. And these are just some of the companies that are there. And in there, you are able to extract information, how these companies pay, and how do you pay then, with regards to these companies. And also, what other benefits do they have that are able to actually attract, the talent that you also want to attract? Because there's only so much pool available. And so we're all going for the same pool. And these are the companies that also participate in the survey. It gives us, I think, a good base to determine how SASOL pays in relation to the market, and also where we identify roles that are critical and scarce, and where we need to go and review how we pay. We do that from this survey. I think very high level, the SASOL landscape, the SASOL landscape. So we have what we call a control amount, or a total guaranteed package, and really it's just intended to attract and retain key employees. And we're very driven in terms of making sure that we have parity or equity in terms of our own internal employees and external equity. And then in terms of benefits, the intent is to make sure that we are competitive in comparison to the market, but also we have an integrated approach towards wellness driving and engagement. We make sure that we are in line with the statutory requirements. So where people are working odd hours because of operations, because of a shutdown, they will be paid accordingly for that. So we do not take for granted that you're making yourself available. So we're just gonna, make you work and not then make sure that you are rewarded for that extra effort. And then we have short-term incentive. And this is really intended to align group business or functional, targets. And a lot of focus here, we use it to drive the yearly targets that the organization has, like employment equity in South Africa. We have targets where we're trying to make sure that we achieve this through our short-term incentive. And also, safety is very key at SASOL. We make sure that we are able to ensure that our employees are safe all the time. And so we put targets in terms of the safety. Okay. And lastly, the long-term incentive scheme. This is to ensure that we're able to attract and retain employees, most of the time critical and scarce skills. And with this scheme, we also want to ensure that there's return on investment for our shareholders, because as you would know, the shareholders' return is very important in order to ensure future investments in SASOL. And I think in a nutshell, these are just basically some of the employee benefits that SASOL has. Employer pension fund contributions. So SASOL contributes towards employee pension fund. We allow employees to have structured car allowance where they travel for business kilometers, and they're able to claim where they're traveling because of business need. Retention bonus, SASOL medical aid, leave bonus, a share investment scheme. And I think just to very quickly go on the last one, because I think we've run out of time, the broad-based Black EE employment equity empowerment, Kanyisa, which has been announced last week by our CEOs. But in general, this is what SASOL has to offer to our employees, and we encourage employees to do their best in order to be able to be identified when opportunity comes for growth and development, because you can only be identified if you are out there and participating in important projects. Thank you.